I'm Lin-Manuel Miranda, and you're listening to Hard Knock Life.
Well, it's the NOC in full color. You see me? The Hard Knock Life. Comics, movies, and TV.
I just want to welcome a friend of the Nerds of Color for a long time. You know him as rapper, DJ, author, Guinness World Book record holder, new father, which we're going to talk about. You know him as Mega Ran. I know him as my friend. What's up? Welcome back to the Nerds of Color.
What's good, Keith? How you been, man?
I'm doing well. I know that you were just holding it down at San Diego Comic-Con not too long ago. How was that?
It was wild, but it was one of my better trips, I will say. It was more focused than usual. So I was able to get things done and meet a lot of people and do some really cool stuff. I played a couple of really fun shows. So yeah, it was great, man.
To prove that Mega Ran is a friend of the Knock, he was at San Diego on the My Brother and Me podcast, one of the biggest podcasts in the world, and then you're on this Rinky Dink podcast here. So you always know where your people are. I appreciate that.
Oh man, you never forget your peoples, man. The people that have been there from day one, that's your peoples. You know, you hold them down no matter what.
How many San Diegos is this for you?
Man, I was trying to think of that when I was there. My first one was 2007. Now, I don't think I've been to everyone since, but you know, I've popped in and out, but it's at least 10, I would say, at least
10, maybe in a row is what you're saying.
Maybe in a row. Yeah. it's been insane. And so to be able to see the changes and differences, I mean, I think I really enjoyed it this year. It felt like a throwback, to be honest. I think I was
going to say this year was probably the most different in those 10 years, probably closer to the first experience back in 2007, because 2007, it wasn't quite what it has been over the last couple of years.
Right. It wasn't quite becoming pop culture TV mania. It was still comic focused. And this time it felt like it went back to that for sure. You know, right. I saw a lot of artists getting love, a lot of comic love, you know, and I'm okay with it. And maybe some smaller crowds and just more manageable in general. And I loved it, man. It was awesome.
And you are still on tour though, right? Like it wasn't like you're just checking out Comic-Con. Comic-Con was kind of part of your grand world tour. Is that fair to say?
Well, now that I'm a family man, I try my best to stay home. I was like, oh, I'm staying home all of July. And then a Comic-Con opportunity came up, my brother and me. I was like, man, I love those guys. I guess I got to find a way out there. And so that is what led to me going. But initially, I've been home the whole month of July. That was my summer vacation. Fall ramps up for me. That's usually major touring season for me. That's usually when I drop a new album. That's like when I'm moving around for whether just going to play shows or heavy tours. I got a new tour I'm announcing the end of this week. So yeah, the fall's going to get crazy. So this is my only outing of this month was to go to Comic-Con, and it was worth it.
Yeah, it's always great when Comic-Con is work, you know what I mean? But speaking of new albums, one of the reasons you're on this podcast right now is that you do, as you mentioned, have a new album coming out, Buddy's Magic Toy Box, dropping in September. And I feel like it's kind of tied to your new role as a father. This is essentially your first children's album, right?
Oh, totally. It's very different from what I've been doing, but like also not, you know what I mean? Like I've been rapping about kid stuff, you know, what people consider kid stuff for a long time, you know, whether comics, video games, figures, all the beautiful things I see in your background.
Our background, what you're talking about, you mean our background.
Our backgrounds. All these things have been such a big part of our lives forever. And a lot of people consider them kid stuff. So it's nothing new for me to be just exploring that a bit more. So now it's what my son considers to be fun kid stuff. It's been really dope exploring that, just listening to a ton of children's music and then realizing like, oh, I'm nothing like these guys. I'm not going to necessarily give you the sing-songy, Barney, I love you stuff, but I'm going to give these kids something that will be danceable, fun, funky, and have a lesson involved, you know? So basically my journey through this whole project was trying to fight with myself. You know, it was like, it can't be corny, but it's got to be educational, but it's got to bop. It's got to hit. It's got to slap. You know what I mean? And it's like this fight with myself, just being like, these beats have to be good. These rhymes have to be good, but also like kids have to understand it and adults have to understand it. So I've kind of like had to let myself take over and not stop fighting with myself and just being like, yo, it should be simple. It should be catchy. It should be fun. But at the same time, it should be simple enough that a kid can get it as well as their parents. So, I mean, but I've already been kind of doing that, you know what I mean? So it feels like, oh, so maybe it's not that different, it's just a real hard fight, man, because, as a rapper, you're trying to be the best MC, you're trying to be the most clever, you're trying to be the most catchy, witty, saying things that haven't been said before or in new ways. Is literally the essence of hip hop. It's the hip and hop. It's being culturally relevant and important and special. But I just had to let go a lot of times from being like, man, let's have some fun. Let's sing. Let's make something that's danceable. And I'm really, really proud of what's happening with this record.
It does, like, it gives me vibes of like the best of like children's programming, right? Because that's the thing people forget a lot of times. Like, a lot of children's programming had some bangers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what I love about this particular record, like, as you said, it's for kids, but it's also for adults. Because, like, Give Me the Fruit, like, 5-year-old's not going to realize that's a Biggie reference.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or and the fact that you have a song about like the history of rap, the history of hip hop, told to kids and let them know about DJ Kool Herc and the history of this music that people take for granted in 2023. Even though it is.
Oh, yeah. Hip hop is 50, man.
50. That's the.
But yeah, man, this is the 50th year of hip hop. So that's why I thought that would be a really good thing to jump into. I had already been kind of doing that. I talk to kids all the time about the history of rap and, where it's come from, where it's going. It's dope to be able to look back to the past and give props where props are due. Rappers love a shout out, so being able to shout out DJ Kool Herc and stuff, DJs in general for making hip hop what it is important to me. So that's important. I think that's going to be the first like drop from the album because it's going to come out the weekend of the 50th anniversary of hip hop, which is August 13th. It happened in 73 and August 11th rather. And so it's a real big moment for hip hop, but no one's really thinking about the kids and what it should mean to kids. Cause kids are like, man, that old dusty stuff, I don't care. So if you can somehow get it to be cool to them, like that's what's important.
And I love that to your point, it focuses on the pillars of hip hop, right? It's DJing, turntables, breakdancing, and MCing, right? Like, again, in 2023, people have kind of like, I think some folks, not everybody, but some folks have lost the thread about
it's out of the mainstream's, it's out of the mainstream's conscious for sure. Mm-hmm. But breakdance is in the Olympics. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, like these are worldwide art forms that started on the street corners. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's dope to know that that you could, like, breakdancing is an Olympic sport this year. So like, that's really cool to see that, like, yes, hip hop has taken it that far, that it's people all over the world are competing in this, something that people were just doing because it was just the vibe. It was fun. Mm-hmm. So it's dope to see where hip hop is going. And if somebody's not talking about it, like, who's going to know? You know what I'm saying? So that's where I guess I come in as a former teacher. I'm like, I want to plug in a little bit of education, but I got to make it fun and it's got to be dope, most importantly. So that was the fight with me for the year that I've been working on this album. It's like, man, it's got to be dope. It's got to be dope, and I'm very, very proud of the record. And I can't wait till everybody gets to enjoy it with their kids.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you mentioned, your autobiography. You were a former, I think, middle school teacher in Philly. Yep. Is that what it was? You were in middle school. Mm-hmm. I was a high school teacher, so right. I praised you for teaching middle school kids.
Yeah, man, I was nuts for that. I went to my high school teacher to get some advice, and she was like, I would never teach high school. I'm in middle school. She's like, I would never do it. I don't know.
That's my advice. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was wild. I don't know why I thought high school would be worse because the kids would be like my size. So I just thought, like, if a kid my size says, I don't want to sit down, then we got a problem. So that's why I didn't want to do it. But nah, these kids are, but they keep you on your toes. They keep you young, I like to say. Being a younger teacher in there, like, they can eat you alive, but at the same time, they can see some ways to relate with you.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, I was young. I think you and I are probably teachers around the same time. We're the same age. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely like, I don't know about you. There were a few times where I got like, can I see your hall pass? And I'm like, what you talking about?
Right.
But but that you share that. That's the kind of thing you can bond with the mm-hmm. kids, That probably won't happen in a middle school for you, but it definitely happened for me in high school. So
Yeah.
That's probably, you know, it makes me wonder, like, you know, talking about pop culture references, when's the Abbott Elementary song going to drop? Because that's like, isn't that your
Bro,
life, right?
Abbott Elementary is damn near triggering to me.
Is it too
Like,
traumatic? I was going to say,
man, it's too real. Like I told in Philly, it's in Philly. The stuff that they go through, like when that's supposed to be funny, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally experienced. Like, I don't laugh as much as I thought I would at that show. I love it though. I mean, oh my God, Quentin Brunson
I
is
think
a
about you all the
national
time when
treasure.
I watch that show. I'm
But
like,
that show is my life. That is my life. That dude, the homie Tyler Williams, that is me. That was me in middle school teaching. Like, I'm just, oh, y'all don't have that. Oh, we don't do that. Okay, we don't do that here. All right. It's man, it would be funny if I had lived any other life, but man, like it's almost traumatic. That and Dave with Little Dicky. Both of these shows are almost like traumatic for me.
it's like when you talk to chefs about The Bear and they're like, oh, I don't watch that because it's just, I get anxiety watching that show. You know, like if you live the life, what other people think is funny in his jokes is like, that's not really a joke. That happens.
Like, no, that happens. Yeah, for real.
So, but being a teacher is kind of baked into this, like the concept of, I mean, being a father, but also being a teacher, I think is kind of baked into this album.
Yeah, and fathers are teachers, man. I'm sure you can attest. Like you're teaching every day. You're learning, you're teaching, and that's really what it is. You get something new, you download it, you learn. And like the hardest thing about it, I'm a brand new dad. I mean, this kid is not even 2 yet. So being like in this position and older, I'm just like, man, am I doing this wrong? Or did I mess up? Like you have a bad day and you're just like, me and my wife are talking, and I'm just like, oh, I think I messed up today, you know? And she's like, you get a chance to do it over tomorrow. You get a chance to fix it, you know? And I look at like with my parents, like, I don't remember a time ever where my parents apologized to me, you know, or said like, hey, I messed up. I was wrong. Never.
Yeah.
My mom would never say that to me. And I'm able to do that. I'm able to say, hey, look, I'm sorry I yelled. You know, I was upset about something that was totally different that you didn't have anything to do with. And then, you know, you came and hit me with a basketball, you know, and I'm sorry. You know, I could say that to him and be fully honest, open my soul, you know. So it's like every day is a chance to get better at it, you know.
Yeah.
And they got short memories too. So it's like he's not mad about yesterday's yell, you know, he's okay. Right. So it definitely like helps me to learn on the fly, unlike anything I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy for you, and I'm you know, it is a journey, and like you said, your kid's 2, mine's 16 in high school, so like I wish I could tell you it gets better.
Oh God, nah. But you know, I hear a lot of people say like just cherish these moments when they're young. They're,
absolutely.
You know, they're still learning. They're still getting skills and things. Just enjoy them, because before you know it, they're 16 in high school. You know?
Yeah. And then when you say, I'm sorry I yelled at you, it doesn't make any difference.
Doesn't mean anything.
Don't mean nothing. And then it's doubly worse, and maybe I'm getting too personal, doubly worse as former teachers, right? When they're like, you know, not doing their homework or not turning stuff in, and like trying to pull the tricks that we pulled on our parents who didn't know any better, didn't know any different. They know how the education system worked. We do. We know there's no such thing as a teacher just didn't grade it yet. Nah. Maybe, but that don't make any difference that you don't turn it in just because they
still got to do it.
Still got to do it. So that's just be prepared in a few years when it's homework time. You're gonna have to turn your teacher brain off, because sometimes it does get in the way.
Oh, I could see that. Okay. Man, that's good advice. That's good advice. Oh man.
It's been a minute since you and I have actually talked. So I'm very happy that we were able to put this interview together, because one of the things I've been wanting to talk to you about for a long time is, and I wore this Michael Jordan number 45 jersey for a reason.
Oh, the 45. Okay.
It's for a reason, because you and I have been friends for a long time. I've been a fan of yours for even longer. And a couple years ago, you dropped an album that is literally one of my favorite albums, not just Megaran album, just like albums ever of all time, you. Live 95. Particularly, I think that's when I learned you and I are exactly the same age. Because it was like, oh, I graduated in 1995 too.
You're like, I remember that. I did that, you know.
I did those things. I played NBA Live 95. I was a fan of Michael Jordan. So like 95.
It changed everything for me, man. Like
I was gonna say, I mean, because that point, I mean, you were always, you know, you had such a following, but I feel like Live 95 put you through the stratosphere in a way that like your others. I mean, again, you were already rising, and then that one just broke through.
I can see that. I think it's the album I wanted to make for a long time, but I never was maybe comfortable enough, you know, because when you think about nerds, I think sports is usually the last thing people think about.
That's where I was going.
You know what I mean? So like I said something about like, you know, I was part nerd and I was part jock.
Yeah.
And so I sat in the middle, you know, things like that. And it was like, that's really what I went through, where it was like, I was nerdy about sports just as much as I was about comic books, anime, video games, you know? So that put me
and
in
then wrestling always fit in that space, right? Wrestling was just nerdy and sporty enough. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
it's like
the perfect balance. I think wrestling is the midpoint for sure. And so that would have me with very distinct groups of friends, like a lot of friends who like sports, a lot of friends who like comics, but then a few who like both.
Yeah.
And so it put me in a real interesting spot with like friend groups. But it was, you know, 95. I just remember that being just a very like influential like moment for me, like sports wise. A lot of things were happening personally, you know, graduating. Charles Barkley got traded. I mean, it was like my world.
You followed him to Phoenix.
yeah. My world got shattered. It was like, oh man, you know, Barkley's gone, you know, like, and just being in Philadelphia, huge sports town, you know, just like being so connected to whatever was happening in sports. I used to sit there with sports radio on while reading comics, you know what I mean? That was my like high school life. So yeah, 95, I'm so proud of that record. You know, I think it's the best Mega Ran album. I'm just, in my opinion, I feel like it was the album I've wanted to make. You know, it was like underground rap, like focused based on a lot of the love I've had for sports, but also like being able.
And there's still the nerd references in there, right?
Yeah, like, tons of nerd references.
Sure, and I always wondered, the one question I always wanted to ask you is that like, because you know you have a very specific fan base, and like you know the record you hold is like a literally like nerdiest rapper, right? Like most video game references ever or whatever. Like,
nerdiest rapper, yeah, that's
that's going to be on your cryon, you know. But to your point, like the reason I identify with that record so much is that I felt very similarly, like biggest nerd, you know, as you can tell by my background.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I loved Chicago Bulls. I love sports. And like you said, like, and 95 was of course the year Michael left, and my world was similarly shattered. So that was a very like, but you know, I think in 2023, those barriers between jocks and nerds have crumbled a little bit, because like sneakerheads are some of the nerdiest motherfuckers I've ever seen.
I mean,
they make toy collectors, you know, they put toy collectors to shame.
Man, for real. That's the truth. We were just talking in the hip hop panel at Comic-Con. I think Esoteric Czarface brought up that like the idea of like record collecting, you know, and like how nerdy is that? Like, come on, like, and now when people release records, they do variants. They're like, oh, with the red, with the blue. Like, yo, if that's not comic book inspired, like, come on, man. Like
the lenticular cover.
Yeah, all the variants we collected in the 90s, man. Like, get out of here. So like it's the same concept, you know, and shoes. They're like, oh, well, let's just put this special edition out with this colored thing on it. And people just gotta have it as collectors. So I think that's
wrapped and displayed and never wear it, you know.
Yeah, that's the cross section for sure. It's like collecting, you know, for sure, that everybody has in common, whether it's the jocks, the nerds, we're all collectors, and hip hop heads, we're all collectors.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I just wanted to, you know, ask you about that, because did you ever have like folks who were like not getting references? You know, you have a whole song about Craig Hodges, you know what I mean? I'm like,
oh, for sure.
that I feel like you made those songs for me. I'm saying, like, it's like,
you.
did you never consulted me? How did you know, like,
how did
my
you
life?
know?
And you wrote these songs all for me.
But again, it's about teaching. Like, I think just being an educator is like, yo, I've had fans come up to me like, dude, I don't even dig sports, but man, like, you taught me a lot through this. You made me look up Craig Hodges. You made me look up this, that, or whatever was happening. And so that I appreciate. And so at shows, the intro of the Craig Hodges song is on the album is him talking, but at live, it's just the beat playing for like 40 seconds. So I use that time to explain to people like, hey man, you know how Steph Curry's like the guy now? Like that was like Craig Hodges then, but like he won the championship and it was time to go to the White House. And he was like, you know what, if I go to the White House, I'm going to have something to say, and decided to go and talk to his community, get everybody's opinion on what grievances he should bring to the president, and then came there in a dashiki, and then like a true gangster went out in the backyard and starts draining jump shots. I mean, like, it's just like that is superhero stuff. You know what I mean? It's like we need to talk about people like that more often. Like that is a modern day folk hero.
Yeah.
To take that opportunity and be like, you know what, I'm going to roll up. Yeah, but I'm also going to have a note of some things I want to say. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, we'll just go shoot some hoops and just. You know?
Oh, and I think that's beautifully, and I didn't intend for this to be like a breakdown of the album, but like that's beautifully also articulated in the song Flight, because again, as a Jordan fan, as a Bulls fan, like, and also as someone who's progressive and like there, you do feel like, is it hypocritical to be like, to love Jordan as much as I do, because like all of the, you know, alleged things he said over the years. And then you watch a movie like Air and you're like, this is why I love Michael Jordan. You know, this is why I wanted to buy those shoes. And it's, you know, like you kind of wrestle with that duality on the record. So,
I think it's important to state that. And like, I'm human, you know what I'm saying? So I think knowing like that I have a flaw, like I love Jordan shoes.
That Jumpman logo, man.
It's just something about it. And I think it's because, you know, when I was young, I couldn't get it, you know, and all the kids wanted it, and all the kids when the cool kids had it, I was like, oh, I want those, you know? And so a part of me, it's like, man, I really wish that, you know, I felt better about Jordan, the person, but then it's like another part of me is like, I don't care because it looks cool. You know what I mean? Or should I care? I wish I didn't know, you know, ignorance is bliss. You know, that's kind of the point of that whole song is like, man, the ability kind of starts to surpass all these other things that you think you know or you don't understand. You're just like, man, it just looks cool. Like it just looks cool. That's it.
Yeah.
And I want to be cool. And that's really what it came down to. It's like, yeah, these shoes aren't gonna make me fly, but they're gonna make somebody think I can fly. You know what I mean? Or that I can hoop.
And there's something, and I think this is all another thing that maybe is shared, and maybe it's just for our generation specifically, but like there's also a nostalgia factor. And one of the reasons we love, like, I love that you said that it's because we couldn't get them when we were kids. So now that we're older with a disposable income, we can have a whole closet full of J's because now we can. It's just like we can have shelves full of action figures because we can. Exactly. All these, I'm, you know, my daughter always accuses me, I'm just rebuying all the stuff that I, you know, lost or got rid of over the years. And that's like, basically, you got me. That's pretty much
that's
the
it.
reason I am who I am right now.
That's it, man. Every time I see the G.I. Joe hovercraft somewhere, I think about it. I'm like, I don't have any
flag?
space. The flag. The giant, the aircraft carrier.
Aircraft carrier.
Oh my gosh. I think about it every time and it's huge. So I'm like, I can't fit this anywhere.
It's a space issue. Even for me, I'm like, I'm running out of space to buy toys.
Me too. I'm like, I don't have room. Every time I'm like, no wall space. I can't get it. No space. But man, the aircraft carrier, I think about it every time.
You tell your wife, it could be our coffee table. What if we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Last thing, and then I'll get off the 95 is the other reason I feel like it really kind of, you know, broke through for you is that somehow Kevin Smith heard a track off that record and put you in Clerks 3, and then you were like hobnobbing with Kevin Smith and Jay Muse at the premiere for Clerks 3. Can you just briefly, and I'm sure your fans already know, but maybe the listeners at Nerds of Color don't.
Man,
how did you get Tractor Beam not only on the soundtrack, but like prominently featured in the film?
Man, it's the craziest story. And it's really a testament to jumping at opportunities, you know, like all day long, somebody hits me up or, you know, there's things that happen on the internet where like, oh, submit a song to possibly be here. But Kevin Smith himself said, hey, I'm working on Clerks 3 and I want a soundtrack from the people who would enjoy it. So please send me a song and maybe I'll pick it. And 2 or 3 people tagged me in it. And I was like, these things never work. It's just a scam. I don't know. And then I was like, you know what? Tractor Beam could work. And I love Tractor Beam. So I was like, all right, let me send it over and see what happens. And sure enough, I got I think a DM. It wasn't from Kevin, but it was someone else who's like, are you the writer of Tractor Beam? Are you the producer of Tractor Beam? I was like, who wants to know? Like all these questions. And they're like, I'm a friend of Kevin. And I'm like, yeah, right. And then they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, what company do you work with or whatever? And he starts naming like things that are references of Kevin Smith's movies because he's named like everything around him after like movies and stuff. And so I'm like, oh, shoot, this might be real. And I was like, all right, well, email me. We'll talk about it. And they emailed me and was like, yeah, Kevin likes this and he wants to use it. And I'm like, oh, snap. And they're like, how much can we pay you? And I was like, you know what? You could pay me or you could get me at that premiere.
Oh, damn.
I want to talk to Kevin Smith I would have some, I want to get some FaceTime, like I could get paid and walk away and never see y'all again, but that is not going to help me out in the long run at all. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yes, you can pay me. However, what's up with a ticket to the premiere? And sure enough, man, I got to meet Rosario Dawson, Jay Muse, everybody. And it was just an unbelievable experience. And then they were like, hey, we're doing the cruise askew. We're having a cruise. You got to come and play the song live at the cruise. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm a part of this universe now.
Yeah, you are now part of View Askew universe.
I can't even believe it, man. Like there was a cruise meetup during Comic-Con. So I went and stopped by. I got to meet some people that were going to be on a cruise. They're selling a soundtrack there. And I'm like, oh, I'm on that. Yeah, I'm there, right there. Track 4, that's me. Yep.
That song at the end of the movie.
It sounds so crazy for me to be able to say that, man. And like Kevin Smith's like the king of the nerds, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. I mean,
literally...
we mentioned earlier, you've been a wrestling fan, and like pro wrestling is another such a big part of your identity and part of your, like your music, and you've actually been in the ring. Like, what's cool? Let me just ask you, is there like to say like I'm part of like this, probably the first shared cinematic universe, like, we talk about the MCU and everything, but like View Askew, he was doing the shared universe back in the 90s before anyone even knew what that was.
That is true.
Or like wrestling, hanging out with New Day, being on like, Raw and stuff like that. Like what's like,
oh man,
what's cooler? Compare. Like, I mean, you pretty much like talk to us in 1995 and said, look, in 30 years, I'm going to be on that screen doing a suplex. I'm going to be like, hanging out with Ben Affleck.
Yeah, there's literally no way, man. I would have slapped myself like, stop tripping. I can't say what's cooler, man, but like, I like to be able to be a part of like the WWE universe, of course, which is something I've been watching forever, is amazing. But man, there's no feeling like credits rolling and seeing your name in a movie theater. And like my friends who are with me, like snapping pictures of it. And like, there's no feeling like that at all. Like I was just like, I sat back like, wow, I think I could retire right now. Like this feels amazing, like being a part of a movie and a movie soundtrack, like a major motion picture, like Lionsgate hits me up and says, hey, here's your passes and whatever. I'm just like, yo, this is another level, man. And but all of them are amazing in different ways. Like I'm living my wildest dream.
You are literally living the dream.
The 12-year-old in me is like flipping, like, what can you do? And that's the thing about it. As much as I felt like, man, I'm good. Now I'm like, what else can I do? You know what I mean? Like now I start feeling like anything is possible. Yeah. I'm like Kevin Garnett, what I'm saying? Hey,
you're just screaming into the sky.
And I tell my boy Derek, like, yeah, man, like what's next? Like we need to just keep going and trying, because the impossible happens almost yearly for me now. And so it's like, just the fact that I can exist, like doing what I do and pay bills, is just an amazing blessing. So, because I would do all this for free. You know what I mean?
I mean, you literally were like, you could pay me or you could let me hang out with Kevin Smith. So like,
right, for real. I was like,
you literally put your money where your mouth is.
All of this stuff that I do, man, like to be able to go to the All-Star weekend and like all the cool things that happen after Live 95, like I would do that for free. Like there's no way. But then to be given like badges and be able to be a part of that stuff is just like another level of cool to me. So yeah, now I'm just like, so what else can I do? Well, now I'm looking at
I want to know like what is on the Mega Ran bucket list? Like what other things have you yet to accomplish that you're like, let me do that now, since as you said, anything is possible?
Voice acting. That's it, man. Like it's voice acting. I need to voice a character in a cartoon, an anime, something like that. I don't exactly know the process. I talked to a few voice actors and some of them are like, oh yeah, take some classes, do a demo reel. And some of them are like, you're Mega Ran. Just go talk to somebody and maybe it'll happen. And I'm like, I don't think it's that easy to just say, I'm Mega Ran and I want to do it. But I will put it out there that I am Mega Ran and I want to do it. So if anybody hears this, like hit me up. I just was on tour. I toured too much. So I wasn't able to do it. But I've gotten some emails where they were like really last minute audition requests where they're just like, hey, my game needs a character. You want to try to voice this? And like, I'll be on the road and I'm not going to do it on my iPhone. So they want like a good recording. And I was like, man. So anytime that's happened, the timing just didn't work out. So I think when it's meant to be, it'll happen.
Well, I mean, let's hope this strike gets settled soon so that when I mean, Kevin Smith does produce a He-Man cartoon. I'm just saying, like you
Yes,
just
he
call your
does.
boy up.
Yes, he does. I know the soundtrack guy too, Bear McCreary, who
There you
is
go.
a freaking legend. He did Walking Dead, Battlestar, so many other ones. So maybe I'll just mention it a lot
There's an
to people.
Eternia character that could use Mega Ran as a voice.
Yo, there's who's the king's name is Randar, which
Yeah,
sounds
exactly.
a lot like
I mean,
Mega Ran.
you missed a chance there, man. King Random should have been,
King
or you could
Random.
be, or they could write an episode where King Randor gets replaced by King Random, and that's a
They
whole
do
thing.
like a weird.
You know how Faker is.
Yeah,
the fake
it'd be
He-Man?
the fake one. Oh, just one episode. That's all I need.
King
God.
Hey, Kevin, if you're listening,
Yo, Kev.
I'll write the King Random episode so my boy can be on. Hey,
Yo.
can you tell the people when the new Toy Box album comes out? Because again, this is
yes.
we were. I know this was supposed to be promoting this album, and I was spending all the time talking about Live 95.
We're going everywhere. It's okay.
Going
This will come out likely. This will come out likely before the album does. So that's fine. So you guys will hear the first singles in August. First one is Story of Rap coming out on August 11th to celebrate the 50th year of anniversary of hip hop. Next one is Give Me the Fruit. The album comes out September 15th. I'll be on the tour by then, so you'll be able to go and hear it from me live. Bring your kids, bring kids of all ages, because I think adults will enjoy this too. So I'm really looking forward to playing these songs in front of people. I've been testing them out at different shows, and man, they've been just going really great. So you can pre-order it now on my website, megaranmusic.com. We got vinyl, we got special colors, we got cassettes, we got CDs if people still listen to those, and we got these super cute, let me show you these super cute USBs that I'm working on.
Oh, nice.
And this is a lion, and there's different animals that are going to have the whole albums on it. These are all my kids' favorite animals. So I got a monkey, I got a horse, and a bunch of
so these are
different ones.
USBs with the record on it?
Yeah, so they're going to have the whole album on it, and those are going to be available when the album comes out as well.
That's so cool. That's very cool. And I love you promoting physical media, because that's
Yeah, man, it's not going anywhere yet. You can't put a download on that shelf. Look at this shelf line. Look at my shelf. You can't put a download up there. It won't look cool.
Yeah, no NFTs here, man. We don't rock with NFTs over here.
Nah, son.
That's not, you can't collect JPEGs.
can't.
Man. Come on. Well, Mega Ran, thank you so much for coming back to the Nerds of Color. It's been a blast just building with you right now, and hopefully we don't wait a few years for you to come back.
I know. Yes, we got to do this much more often. I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man.
But not the chick kind, more like the people